able to answer it within the stipulated 3 minutes that you have been given. I hope that is very clear.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's get right into it, gentlemen. I'll start, of course, with you, Mr. Kayumba Simwenze. On 6th September 2021, the Secretary to the Cabinet, Simon Miti, declared an employment freeze in the civil service. To what extent does this pragmatically enhance transparency and accountability? Your 3 minutes starts now.
Okay, I followed that very well. Yeah, and personally, on the side of the youth, I think, like you mentioned earlier on, we had reports concerning a lot of corruption going on in terms of employment, people getting into employment, some didn't even have papers, but you find that they hold certain positions that are not, rather, for lack of a better term, that were less qualified for. So I think it's a way to manage this issue of anyone just getting into employment. I think just earlier on when we came here, we were discussing about, an issue concerning the Zambia Air Force recruitment process that was happening earlier on this year. And you find that most people, you find they're either related to someone there or they belong to a certain political party. So now what this wage freeze does is that it brings about transparency, like you say. So now it's a period where the government has to sit down and look at what the flaws are of this issue of employment, or how people are getting into the civil service. They have to look at how an individual, whether qualified or not, if the person is qualified, well and good. The person not qualified, how they entered the service and whatnot. This is a way of mitigating, for lack of a better term, for us having a better civil service going forward. And in terms of corruption, you find it becomes very easy. Like today, we have reports of 20%. You know how youths have complained about the 20% concerning Betway. Now, why are youths complaining? It's because of what? Lack of employment. And most of these people are on Betway or these betting sites and whatnot. You find that most of them are degree holders but have no jobs. But when you look at our civil service, the positions that these degree holders are supposed to have, you find that it's either a person campaign for a certain political party, that's why they have this job, or maybe they are connected to a certain minister or know the PS, one or another. It becomes very unfair for just an ordinary Zambian or an ordinary youth who's well qualified for these jobs. And I find that civil service, for you to get a job in civil service, at a certain point, it became so famous that each and every individual needs to pay someone. Ukasiza school, wherever you go, uzave ungatengere nchito yaso ufunga waipilako 9 pin, no sungako 5 pin, and it became so famous, especially in the last 2-3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone kept talking about this. So I think I for one, I'm with the idea of what Mr. Simon Miti did with the free wage freeze, just to mitigate the recruitment process.
Thank you so much. Let's get to Mr. Simkoko, aspiring political leader. On 6th September 2021, the Secretary to the Cabinet, Simon Miti, declared an employment freeze in the civil service. To what extent does this pragmatically enhance transparency and accountability? Your 3 minutes starts now.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chish. I think what we need to understand at this particular moment is corruption really caters for a lot of things, and we need to understand where it affects the country the most, of which, according to the statement that was released, it was the civil service. Now, when you look at, of course, I'm going to agree with my colleague over certain issues that he has raised. Unfortunately, what has been happening is that after even him knowing to say there has been, maybe if you want to access employment, you need to pay something, probably for him to come up with such a statement, it means he's aware of certain people maybe who have been doing that and who have been always maybe trying to get into that civil service or maybe to access employment by them paying something, of which it takes a responsibility of every Zambian to make sure that where there is any corrupt practice, it's supposed to be reported to relevant authorities, such as the Anti-Corruption Commission, the Transparency International Zambia, and many more organizations. Of course, we can be able to say the country has been worried with corruption here and there, but the issue is, who are the main perpetrators? The main perpetrators, corruption doesn't just start by the big fishes, no. It begins in our homes. And in fact, we are born with it to some extent. Where if Mr. Chisha, You beat a child and buy a jiggies for that child or a biscuit. Ask the child who has beaten you. The child would rather point at another person to say, a person who has beaten me, it's this one. Now let me extrapolate that into the current context which we are in at this particular moment.
Yeah.
What are we trying to look at? We are trying to look at the civil service, how people have been accessing the civil service, how adverts we are in, and then they quaggled the system which has always been there. If the system is quaggled, we are not supposed to blame the people of Zambia. We need to blame the people who have been implementing such kind of a system. And provided all that has been put up, because what have been seen of late, Mr. Chisha, you cannot be able to bring the issue which has not yet been investigated to public domain, such as the people are saying that no, there is a certain councillor who bought a bank, yet the same bank hasn't been maybe notified to by the main bank, which is the central bank. In that regard, it raises public awareness. Or in that regard, it is able
let's stick to the topic.
Yeah, we are sticking to the topic.
Employment freeze, Mr. Simcoe, is what we're talking about.
Okay, unemployment rate in Zambia, Mr. Chisha. Unemployment rate. Let us look at the population that we are having in this country. The unemployment rate which we are having, Mr. Tisha, cannot fully be absorbed by the civil service. No. What we need to do is to make sure to say each and every Zambian is able to access employment, whether that person likes it or not.
Well, my question is very, very simple. To what extent does the employment freeze, which was declared by the cabinet, Secretary of the Cabinet per se, Simon Miti, all right, how does this enhance transparency and accountability?
Okay. That is a straightforward question, because I've understood it. Just need to give you time to explain.
So please be quick about it. I'll give you one extra minute.
Okay, thank you very much. So when you look at the civil service itself, Mr. Chisha, the civil service has always been there, and it will always continue to be there. The issue is, how do you account, or how do you make sure that you employ people who have a credible experience, or people who are qualified for such positions? You need to advertise always. Immediately you make the advert, people who are qualified are going to be able to apply, and then immediately they apply, it is supposed to be in line with almost the way the system is supposed to be. And that is why in other countries like Tanzania and every country which is supposed to be there, such kind of employments are always witnessed by the institutions that are fighting corruption. Immediately such institutions are witnessed, or immediately you are witnessing how the people are being employed in the civil service. It is very much easy for the process to be transparent, and it is very much okay that in Zambia the same thing can be done.
Thank you so much, Mr. Simcoe. I think you exhausted your time answering a different question, but please let's be able to stick to the topic at hand. We're looking at the fight of corruption in the New Dawn. To you, Mr. Jimmy Chela, the UPND National Youth IPS, same question with you. Your government, well, everyone's government, but you're coming from the UPND. So in this regard, your party, all right, with regards to it being in the ruling government, declared an employment freeze in the civil service. To what extent does really this enhance transparency and accountability?
I think for me it's timely. And I welcome the move, not knowing the period this employment freeze is going to occur. You know, there is need for a serious audit. We are in the new dawn. We need competent people in key position, if not in every positions. We need people who are qualified and are able to deliver to the Zambian people. This employment freeze, I strongly believe that it is going to be a period where a government is going to audit the civil service to know who is where. And you and I know very well that just when government changed, we heard of ghost workers in different parastatal companies. People were on salaries, but they were not working there, you see. And these things can only be exposed effectively if we have a pause on introducing new people on payrolls, especially in the public service. Government will need to do this quickly so that we can continue employing people. As you know, our youths are in their need of employment so much, but this process is very cardinal to enhance transparency and accountability. Also, this job freeze, by the time it is going to be lifted, every Zambian will be notified. Unlike a situation where if someone is going to be employed during this freeze in the civil service, we know that these are vices of corruption. these are vices of corruption, and we can easily expose that. Each and every job in the civil service should be well advertised, and qualified individuals should be invited to apply. I want to recommend government through through Dr. Simon Miti for this pronouncement, and the step taken in it's timely, especially that we have just we have a new regime. We want to start at a good note.
Well, others are saying this was done to facilitate people that are affiliated to the UPND. Would you agree?
To facilitate
in terms of employment, employing people affiliated to the UPND in the civil service.
Today, you and I know very well that the UPNDs, there are pockets of UPND individuals who are saying that the ground has been leveled too much. Today, President Hakainde Hichilema does not look at who is UPND and who is PF. He's no longer a president for UPND. He's president for all Zambians. He's president even for those who are crucifying him. Today, President Hakainde Hichilema has a responsibility to take care of these people. He does not have to look at their political inclination. He has a very huge responsibility, and it will be failing actually if President Hakainde Hichilema can provide jobs to all UPND members. Still, that will be a drop in an ocean.
All right. Let me throw it back to you, Mr. Jimmy Chela. As of 30th September 2021, the Auditor General's report reveals that 1.4 billion wasteful expenditure was actually spent rather in 2020 by the different ministries, and other reports also reveal that a high number of corruption has been practiced by the PF administration. How best can we ensure that the investment of the national resources are back to the people and the public?
First and foremost, we know very well that the president has taken a very good step in engaging the law enforcers. He has given them a political will to support them and to let them operate professionally. And if these law enforcers, the police, DEC, SEC and other enforcers are going to equal to the task, then we are going to achieve what we need. We are going to make sure that all these government offices do the right thing. People who are culprits are followed. And I can tell you very well that from that report, a huge amount also was out of misappropriation. And this is due to incompetencies. When you have people who are not qualified for jobs, given jobs, they are going to be appropriating money because they don't know where priority is supposed to be due.
Who's to blame for this?
It is the previous regime, of course. It is you don't need to have a government which at each and every point want to play politics of numbers. There come a time when these politics of numbers will not support an economic system. There are politics and there is an economy here. There should be a balance. In as much as we want to remain in power by saving the people, you should always, at every time, remember that there is a system which is governed by rules. You don't have to do things your own way, but you have to follow certain rules for things to remain in a right direction.
Well, because remember that this was actually being done in the ministries, and in the ministries, the technocrats, people who are not affiliated to politics. So probably there could be a chance that it wasn't the previous regime. Well, just my thought.
No.
Would you agree to that?
On that, clearly, when you look at the PF manifesto, it states each and every head of department in government will be headed by an individual who is in regular and good standings with the party. That is the PF manifesto. It is in white and black. Where on earth do you think PF is going to have each and every person who is qualified to be in these positions? There are a lot of positions, even right now, which are being held by PF cadres, and it's just a matter of time. we are going to have right people in these positions. People who are
those
well
right
qualified.
people? Which right people? Is it the UPND?
I'll give you one vivid example, which we know so well. Look at the Bank of Zambia governor. A person who was well qualified, competent. A person who was able to stand his grounds and advise government. When we do this, the economy is going to go down.
Thank you so
the
much.
president had to fire that person. When you have a right president, that person is reinstated.
All right, I'll get back to you. Let me throw it to you, Mr. Simkoko. Same question. As of 30th September 2021, the Auditor General's report reveals 1.4 billion west for expenditure in 2020 by the ministries, and other reports also reveal that there is a high number of corruption by the previous regime. How best can we ensure that the reimbursement of these national resources are done?
Okay, it is very much okay, like the way things are supposed to be. But what I can say, Mr. Chisha, is when you know that people are corrupt, it is very much easy for you to see which is the same institutions which fight corruption, to follow those people, and in order for them maybe to repossess what they obtained which does not belong to them. Now, the main reason as to why maybe the former governor was fired and reinstated later on, it was because the PF government at that moment realized to say the governor that we have at this particular moment is working against the government, meaning maybe working against in terms of maybe the dollar's depreciation and the like. So the person was working against. After that person was fired, and then after the UPND won the election, they made sure to say that person was reinstated in that position. Now, was the Patriots Front wrong at that particular moment? We can give them a maybe 2% doubt, but maybe they were right on that point. On the
Right
other
in
hand,
what way, Mr. Simkoko? Right in which way?
I'm saying to say the main reason as to why the governor at that particular moment was fired, according to many speculations or many points that went on, it was because the governor was working against the government of the day. That simply means, provided the government is supposed to come up with a certain way of developing a nation, and then someone goes contrary to what is supposed to be there. So they did so by firing the person, and that is evident enough because immediately the UPND government won, they reinstated the person. Now, coming on other institutions, of course, that are there, my colleague has mentioned to say no, by making sure that we give the SEC and everything room so that they can be able to operate frequently and freely. They are going to be working to replace the president. Now, since they are going to be working to replace the president and not to work the way they are supposed to work, it is very much difficult because provided the person has said, like the way he has said to say, the PF manifesto had said this and that, it is very much easy for you to know why isn't the president firing all the permanent secretaries, all the people who are occupying the government positions which were appointed by the Patriotic Front. The president was supposed to do so if he was serious with the nation. Besides that, Mr. Chisha, let us look at how other countries have been able to combat corruption. Corruption isn't about just talking corruption. No, you are supposed to be factual, you are supposed to be straight on point, and the way I know things, you are not supposed to release any report to the public provided you have not concluded your investigation, because every person is not guilty until is not wrong or has not made any crime until proven guilty, meaning you cannot prosecute a person whose investigation are still underway, meaning even the established reports that are supposed to come to the public, they are supposed to come because there is a conclusion in the investigation that has been done. Now that the institution may be working in order to replace the government of the day, it is very much easy to say they are informing the public prematurely, even when the investigation hasn't yet been concluded. Right. And in that regard, Mr. Chisha, they are tarnishing the names of the people who are doing the same work, who are being investigated.
How can we bring back this money that has been lost? Can it even be brought back?
It's very much possible, Mr. Chisha, because what you are supposed to do...
How can we bring it back?
It is very much easy by making sure that you investigate the people who are involved in such a thing. Immediately they are investigated. How did you obtain this? How did you get this? Provided there is no proper explanation, of course the state can seize such kind of a property.
All right, now, you mingled with these people. I remember that you are part of the Patriotic Front some time back, and until you left. Would you think, and did you see these things happening?
One thing that I can say is corruption is in every country, but it just depends with...
Well, did you see it in the Patriotic Front? That's my question.
I did, because there are reports which were there. There were reports which were there. Since reports were there, for me, I said every country.
Did you take part in the corruption as well? Since
Corruption.
you saw it, yeah.
Seeing the corruption, I saw the corruption just like
But
the way
did
every
you-
Zambian saw
Yeah.
the corruption. Since every Zambian saw it, it doesn't mean that every Zambian got involved in it. Since
Right.
you saw it, because I saw it through the auditor's reports, by other people, maybe the different organizations that are well equipped in terms of releasing the reports.
All right.
That's where I was reading it from, where maybe a certain ministry
Well,
procured certain.
I simply asked you because you were mingling with these people in the Patriotic Front. You are part of the media team, and this is why I'm asking. Well, did you see this corruption happening in the party?
In terms of me seeing the corruption in the party, I didn't. But I was seeing the same things because other institutions, such as the Auditor General's report, released to say this kind of a ministry procured ambulances at this amount, of which the amount were at exacerbated prices. Secondly, apart from that, also the issue of honeybee came in. Not
Thank you
because
so
I
much.
had
Let me
to take
hold
part
you
in that.
there. Let me hold you there. We'll get back to you, Mr. Simkoko. Let's go to Mr. Kayumba Simwenze, the youth and political analyst as well. Same question with you. How best do you think we can rebase these particular national resources?
Okay, thank you so much. I've read the two gentlemen very well. Yeah, I would agree and disagree in some areas, but according to me, what we can make this possible, it is very possible to retain this money back in the to the right channels. Why? What do we start with first? Transparency. Transparency is key in every aspect. When there's transparency, we have less corruption. When there's transparency, we see everything in the limelight. And like my colleague is stated here, saying that it's premature to announce, I feel that it's actually a good move to announce so that we see each and every step the government is taking in implementing these things. Because if they're doing it behind doors, it's very much possible we won't even know the actual things that are happening behind doors. And it's very easy for us not to see how much money needs to be recovered or how many properties need to be recovered, because it's secret. So anything that's secret, anything is possible. The second thing that I would say is that the president needs to employ people based on competent in these agencies. For example, head of the DEC or ACC, we need people who are very competent and should be left independent. Now, why do I say left independent? It's very hard to leave something independent if I'm going to appoint that person. In Zambia, our president has got so much powers. He appoints almost literally everyone in government or agencies. So it's very difficult for me to be appointed. For instance, if I'm appointed by the president to be ACC, most likely I want to save what the government of the day. I'm going to do whatever he tells me to do, whether right or wrong, because he's my boss. So I feel that going forward, it should be a way that I don't know how the UPND can do this or how the president can do this in a way that the president's powers in terms of appointing in these agencies should be limited. Not where he can easily appoint a director of ACC or a director of DEC and whatnot. So maybe if he can leave it independently, let these agencies run on themselves, minus any associations with the government, I feel that's the only way transparency will be seen and work effectively. We've seen this happen in South Africa, where a president who is in power is being investigated. We've seen this happen in South Africa because I would say this. They had actually appointed is it an organization called Scorpion? This organization was the one running any investigative. If there's a suspicion of corruption, it was just independent. Even the way they provided positions in these agencies, everything was all non-related to the government, and that way it enabled them to work independently and effectively. And like the way things are right now, you find that everything has to go through the government. Then the other thing is that it's also worrying. My other colleague mentioned to say that no, the president is taking these steps. I feel that on paper or on word of mouth, he is taking these things. But when you see it in actions, most positions are being given because of rewarding. We've seen, for instance, I won't even beat about the bush. Mr. Felix Mutati.
Blunt talk,
Mr. Felix Mutati, how is he Minister of science and technology?
Yes, science and technology.
That's a reward. you saw it clearly because he had changed camps at a certain point and said we're going to support the UPND. Two months down the line, he's been appointed as minister.
Do you think he's competent?
Personally, I feel a lot of people would have done that. Maybe even a youth would have been employed in that position because the one who was appointed.
Well, it's a new ministry.
It's a new ministry.
Yeah.
Even we've got high, competent and qualified youths who have run this ministry very well. Mr. Chilupi, is it Mr. Chilupi, who's infrastructure? Same as well. This man retired years ago. Why is he minister again? Because we've seen 2 months ago he endorsed UPND and he's been rewarded. So now it's going to be it's worrisome for us now to see that the same people that we felt that should be out because we wanted something and being called the new dawn. It's hard to say we're fighting corruption in the new dawn when we have the same people who were there before coming back now.
One of the promises that the UPND gave is not to recycle politicians.
Exactly.
What's your reaction to that?
So now it becomes very difficult now for us to believe if really it's the fighting of corruption they are doing or fighting of is bringing back the new dawn when they are working against their own promises, which makes it very difficult for us even to believe. So when it comes to transparency, like I said earlier, for us to fight corruption, we need transparency. Transparency starts with what? Saying the truth. Transparency starts with what? Achieving your vision based on what you promised the people. Now already, not even a month in government, they've not been transparent in terms of, say, speaking the truth on what they promised us. What have they promised us based on what? Putting people in positions because of rewarding, which for me personally I feel should be is very unacceptable, and it becomes very worrisome for us as youths or as Zambians or as citizens of the country to believe that they would fight this corruption more effectively.
All right, Mr. Jimmy Chela, Mr. Kayumba here says you are working against your promises as the UPND. 2 minutes.
These appointments of a Minister of Science and Technology and also mentioned of Charles Milby, I think those are not rewards. You understand so well if you follow politics that UPND went into an alliance with first and foremost the Zambian people and also other political parties. And we saw MDC coming on board and also other political party coming on board to work together with UPND to form an alliance. And when you form an alliance, there are certain agreements which you have.
That's right.
And I think today it's not about rewarding. And we shouldn't even be discussing personalities now. We have to discuss about, are these people qualified? Are they capable? What is their track record? You see, I think that is more important than looking at individuals who are in these offices.
What is the track record of Honorable Minister Felix Mutati?
I think we all know what he's done in the past. The departments he has worked in as Minister of, is it Works and Supply? Minister of Commerce at some point. He was Minister of Finance and everything. He has a track record and he has the exposure which we need, in which the president...
Maybe the exposure, yes, but track records with regards to the new ministry?
With the new ministry is in, of course, it's about, when somebody is a performer, they only take a short period of time before they adapt to the system and they're able to perform. And these are leaders, these ministers are just politicians who are going to pick on credible people who are qualified in those areas, and they supervise that think tank. They are like a mastermind behind a ministry.
All right. Now, of course, I do know for a fact that on 30th September 2021, His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema did reassure Zambians of fighting corruption. Do you think you as a UPND have the capability of reducing corruption?
Yes.
To what extent?
First and foremost, the president, I'll give an example of the presidential jet. That is a proceed of corruption. And the president has denied to use that jet. He does not want to be a beneficiary of a corrupt product. That is just a clear example. And you look at how much the government has saved just from the UN UNGA conference, how much has been saved? Only.
Mr. Chela, just there, how do you expect us to believe that he will never use that jet when, before he came into power, he said he shall sell the jet, immediately gets into office, and give that jet for the benefit of the many students who need meal allowances? How do we believe that?
What is immediate? We are barely a month in government, and there is a system. We know how government works. There is a system, there are processes, and this subject has been subjected to a system and a process which we are in. And I think we should recommend
and appreciate the system before.
We should appreciate the president that he has stuck to his word. He has not used this jet. There are a lot of things, actually, almost everything that the president promised, and he's fulfilling. And we are not expecting him. It's actually beyond comprehension for him to fulfill everything in an instant. And that is magic.
All right. Now, to what extent will you as UPND fight corruption?
First and foremost, we have heard the president encouraging the youths to form cooperatives. We want each and every Zambian to have a bite, to taste this cake, this national cake. When you form cooperatives, it will be just the matter of looking at, we are not dealing with individuals, you are dealing with groups of people. How many cooperatives do we have in Lusaka for youths? We have this number. Did we give a contract to this? Did we support this cooperative?
Yeah, apart from cooperatives, what else?
Yes, we have the issues of cooperatives. We have the issues of where the government has allowed these law enforcement agencies. We have the police, for example, have been taught, do not effect an arrest not until you investigate. Today, the Zambian people are even trying to rush. No, this case, when are you arresting this person? The police today are very professional. They're investigating matters before. And this is the best way to fight corruption. We are not only witch hunting.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jimmy Chela. Let me throw it to you, Mr. Lazarus Simkoko. Same question. But first of all, do you think the UPND is working against the promises with regards to rewarding?
Very much. And I know for that, one credit that I give to Mr. Felix Mutati is really a genius. Because he has survived every political party. He was in the MMD, he was in the PF, now he's in the UPND. Secondly, to answer my colleague who is saying that you can't do anything there and then because that is magic. There is no magic, Mr. Chisha, apart from being sworn in at 10 hours and the dollar kwacha rate and the kwacha appreciating at 14 hours. And we never saw that. That is magic indeed to the people of Zambia. Secondly, his vice president, the Zambian vice president, has made it clear in parliament by saying we are not going to give free education to everyone. We are going to give free education to vulnerable people. Now, when they were promising in their campaigns, they didn't say we are only going to give to vulnerable people. No, they said it will be free education for all. Apart from that, the same government, Mr. Chisha, promised the people of Zambia to say we are not going to be using luxurious vehicles, which the ministers in the PF government were using. His minister, the minister of Southern Province, is also his party spokesperson, Mr. Cornelius Mwetua, made it clear to say we are still using the same vehicles which the PF government were using. Now, basically, let us try to be factual a bit. Now, that simply means the UPND government is still using the vehicles which they were condemned because they are now in power. So they just wanted to condemn because at that moment they were jealous of the people who are driving those vehicles. Regarding other issues, once again, it doesn't require you, Mr. Chisha, to have a budget for you to sell a jet. It doesn't require you
to have let's stick to rewarding, because rewarding
Yes.
is at least related to the topic.
Now, rewarding, Mr. Chisha.
Yeah, public resources.
Rewarding, Mr. Chisha. It's very easy in Zambia to be a minister. All you need, form a political party, agree with a political party which is performing well, and say we are going into the alliance with you. And of course, the ministry position will be given to you. MDC in particular, and other people they are claiming to say, well, they were in the alliance. Provided they were running independent, even other presidents like Sean Tembo would have performed better than them. So provided Mr. Sean Tembo had agreed that he's going to be in the alliance, today as we are speaking, he would have been a minister, maybe of the same technology we are talking about. Today he would have been maybe the Minister of Commerce. Now, what is the main issue which is there? You are not supposed to give a position because you are in the alliance. No. And literally, you are not supposed to give a position to the president of a political party who is going into the alliance with you. That is not the way things work. Regarding which one?
Mr. Felix Mutati, maybe he's competent, and Mr. Milupi as well. Well, Bali said that he cannot appoint anyone unless they're competent. Maybe
what is the profession of Mr. Mutati regarding educational qualification? We leave it to the people to answer. But it's not IT. It's not computer. That is the Ministry of Science and Technology.
All right.
In Zambia, Mr. Chisha, let me explain
quickly,
to you.
Mr. Simple.
Let me explain to you. In Zambia, the issue of IT itself, we are having schools which are not having computers, which are not having laptops, because they don't have electricity. Yet you have the Ministry of Technology in Zambia. I expected the UPND government to first address that school, which is in the village without computers. Yet they're taking computer science, they're taking computer studies, to be supplied with computers, to be supplied with laptops. Then you can say we are at a greater stage for us to establish the Ministry of Technology. What is the Ministry of Technology going to be doing?
Do you think UPND has the capability of reducing corruption?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It is in that regard, because the statement of the president and the statement of the party which supported him to win the presidency, it's different. Because other members within the party have said we need to set up structures in market. The president is saying something else. Meaning, the president can be against corruption, yet his members can be still doing the same corruption.
But everyone is below the president. He's the party president as well, so they have to follow his instructions.
They have to follow his instructions. Did they even follow instructions, Mr. Chisha, before saying we are going to start setting up structures in the markets? Did they follow order to say cadres are going to occupy bus stations to maintain order?
All right.
They didn't do so.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kayumba Simwenze, your thoughts on that? To what extent do you believe that UPND is going to deal and fight corruption?
Okay, thank you very much. Very good question. So both to a greater and less extent, I would say. Yeah. Firstly, it's difficult, like I said earlier on. We are saying we're coming from a regime that was very corrupt. Then at the same time, you appoint ministers who worked in that regime, in your regime. Makes it difficult to fight your corruption. That's my take. That's why they got it wrong when I came to rewarding and whatnot. Then what to a great extent.
So wait, let me just get you correctly. You're saying UPND has appointed some ministers in the previous regime?
Yes, Mr. Felix Mutati himself was in the previous regime. He served for almost, if I'm not mistaken, 4 years. 4 to 3 years as Minister of Finance.
Yeah, just him though. Who else?
Minister of Finance. So the alliance itself, we've got people who came through. We have people like, what's his name again? Sorry, I've forgotten his name. But we've got about 3 or 4 individuals who worked in the previous regime who are in the current government now.
Well, for now, we'll say Mr. Felix Mutati because you have proof for that.
Yes, I have proof for that, yeah. So Mr. Felix Mutati worked in the previous government that we say now. Actually, even our current governor, the one who's been appointed again, worked in the previous government that was saying was very corrupt. Then we use the same individuals back into our new Dawn government and say we're fighting corruption. Makes it very difficult for you to fight the corruption because they are coming from the exact same problem you're trying to avoid. But at the same time, I would say I would want to recommend the UPND government into fighting corruption. I think this is a time where they can really fight corruption by setting up examples of people who are in this corrupt, who are in this corruption before. For example, they have a chance of trimming the immunity of the president, of the previous president. We have rumors here and there. Let's see, do the investigation, go through if he was corrupt, get him charged for the corruption case. That's the way of fighting corruption. Then people from there who said is going to be set as an example, and people will see that, okay, for me to be in these positions, one day I'll be prosecuted and whatnot. And the UPND government has that chance, or has that chance of doing now. By setting up examples again, they can go back, like they did with the Zambia police. They saw that most corruption was coming from these roadblocks. Trim the roadblocks, remove them. Remove all the areas where you feel the corruption will come from. the same time, like they did with the pausing of the the pausing of a recruitment process in the civil service. That's another way of fighting corruption. You start from there. So each and every avenue of corruption, that's going to be, if they start attacking the avenues of corruption as early as possible by setting up examples, people will be scared to be working corruptly. And like you said, like you stipulated earlier on, the president is the head. People will follow what the head says. If the head says no to corruption, if the head says no, we shall not do corruption, I'm going to fight corruption here and this, and if you're going to point it out by firing ministers or hiring ministers not including corruption, even people below him automatically will follow suit. That's how it is. In a house, if a father always insults, you expect the children to be insulting as well. If the father doesn't insult, you won't expect the children to insult.
All right. Thank you so much. For now, let's allow some calls to come in and then hear the comments that people have for you as a panelist this particular evening. I know we're in the dying minutes of the show, so I only allow 3 callers, but please be brief and precise. Get to the point with your comments and your questions. The number is 0764 250055, 0764 250055. Call me up and ask any question that you have for the panelist right now in the studio on the number 0764 250055. We are looking at the fight against corruption in the new dawn, and I do have 3 guests in this particular studio. One from UPND, one who is an aspiring leader, political leader, and one who is a youth and political analyst. Let's pick up the score. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Very good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right. Who am I talking to and where are you calling from?
This is Mumba from Kitwe.
All right. Please give us your comment within the next 45 seconds.
I think for me, for the UPND, I think currently they are not fighting corruption. What they are trying is just to divert attention from the real promises that they promised the people of Zambia. I think if they are serious about fighting corruption, we could have seen some arrests and some people being taken to court. But all what they are doing is just to divert attention from the people. I think their fight of corruption is not serious. I think even the Zambian people should ignore.
All right.
It's just a diversion from the real issues that they promised the people of Zambia. I think they are not serious.
All right.
We have seen some people being taken to court, and no one has been taken to court. All we hear is just this one, but no one has been taken to court. That's not the way you fight corruption. Even the Anti-Corruption Commission, if they were serious, some of the cases that they are talking about today, why did they not talk about them? If I was the president myself, the best people I could have fired is the Anti-Corruption Commission, because they failed to do their job.
All right, thank you so much.
They are not new cases.
Thank you
What were they doing before?
All right, thank you so much. I'll need to cut you because of time. I really appreciate your contribution and comment.
Thank you.
All right. Because of time, please be quick, precise, and straight to the point. Give us your comment. My second caller after this, one more. Hello, good evening. Hello? Hello, good evening. Yes, who am I talking to? Hello, good evening. Who am I talking to and where are you calling from? Okay, all right. Please, as you call in, reduce the volume set for the TV. Be able to just reduce it so we don't get any feedback. Call us on the number on the screen, 0764250055. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Dudu from the Copa.
All right, please be straight to the point. Be straight to the point and ask your comment or your question rather to the panelist. Mkwai. All right. Tuachela mkwele sapale. All right. 0764250055, the last call. Then we get to the last round of questions and response to the callers that have come in. One last call. The number is 0765-250055. Hello, good evening.
This Muvi TV.
Yes, it is. Who am I talking to?
This is Good evening.
Hello? All right. Because of time, I think let's answer those few questions that we have. Mr. Kayumba, the two callers have really stated that UPND is not fighting corruption. You know, all they're doing is just entertaining us and not really doing what they need to do in terms of implementation with fighting against corruption. This time around, because of time, let's answer that within a minute.
Okay, I want to agree with that. Like I earlier stated, UPND has a chance to set examples. Remember, I even mentioned the example of just stripping off the immunity of the president, the former president. The other thing they would have done as well, I was also expecting this to be one of the first things President Hichilema should have done, is appointment of heads of anti-corruption commission. We've got rumors of ZRA corruption, but here now is being given a new contract. So such things are still happening, and you'd question them, because this is expected. One of the first things, if you are going to have a head of ACC being appointed first, you expect him to start chasing after that corruption. And we're fighting in a new dawn. In the previous government, you have the same ACC director, ACC, is it chairperson or director, chairperson? The same guy who was there in the previous government and still working in the current government. Where's the fighting of corruption there? If he did deals there, you still do them deals now. There was no change there. Then we've got the ZRA, we've heard of the rumors of ZRA corruption going on.
Well, those are rumors, Mr. Kayumba, not facts.
They are rumors, but we should have expected some sort of investigations going on as well before being given a new contract. But it's being given a new contract even when the same rumors are still pending. So for me, I would agree with the callers. But still, UPND has a chance of fighting this corruption. Just not yet. I feel they're still not doing it. They're not doing enough.
Your final remarks as we end the program?
My final remarks is I would like to urge the government, most importantly the president or the presidency. I think it's something we should look at. I think the president in Zambia has got so much powers, and it's very difficult for a president who's got a lot of powers, who's appointing literally every field in government. It becomes very difficult for them to work effectively, because every wing of government or every position in government is going to find a way of trying to please the president and don't work effectively and independently.
Thank you so much. Mr. Simkoko Lazarus, with your response to the callers, they're saying UPND is not fighting corruption. All they're doing is just entertaining us as Zambians.
Okay, all the callers are right on that one, because if they were serious, we would have seen other people being prosecuted or arrested because of corruption. That is straight, and that's the fact. Secondly, the other caller said they just want to keep us entertained so that they divert from what they promised to fighting the corruption. Pali Idienshita, I will respond in Bemba because the person was speaking in Bemba. Pali Idienshita, ewe tukesana twafuka mu 2023-2024. Chikashupa beno kubomboka nati twaseva for 2 years because it was busy to investigate our corruption. Awabadi mkopa belta wonanga shonetyo ndera ndapopano. Mkopa belta bambya bale bomba mu street vendors. Tabale bomba pali lero. Bambya wabale bombera mu Black Mountain. Tabale bomba badi bakanya. Without the government looking for the alternative where these people can be taken to. Based on those calls that have come through, those are the real facts which are on the ground. And you can be able to see, Mr. Chisha, within months, the people are shouting, Bali. Bambo that no, they are not serious. They are not serious. Chiroko 2026.
Final remarks, Mr. Simko.
My final remarks are that the people of Zambia are watching everything. The people of Copper Belt, the people of Lusaka, and the entire people of Zambia, they are not going to eat a speech. They are not going to eat a place breathing. They are supposed to be eating the things that they promised the people. People voted for the UPND because of the promises and not of the same speeches, the same place breathings. Any person can do so, and the Zambian people are seeing what is going on. Now they are becoming irritating.
Mr. Jimmy Chela, you've heard the cause. Your party and the party in power is not fighting corruption. All they're doing is just, you are giving us entertainment.
You know, it will take time for the Zambian people, for some of the Zambian people, to adjust to this new dawn. We are not going to effect arrests just to show that there's a change. We're not going to make the judiciary busy to take each and every person who served in the previous regime to court. No, the president has clearly said, don't effect arrests without investigating. Meaning the president wants these law enforcement institutions to be professional. Right now, go at the police headquarters, go at each and every police station. They are busy investigating matters. These are people whom the president is taking care of. The president.
Do you believe you can do better, Mr. Jimmy Chila, than what you're doing?
There are a lot of investigations which are going on right now, and we are not going to prosecute people based on rumors. We are supposed to be very professional and be factual in our dealings. Yes, there are a lot of rumors there. We've heard things happening, and all these things are being investigated. If any Zambian today knows of a corrupt act, let them report to the police. It is open, and the police were going to swing in and invest those matters. If the matter concerns DEC, if the matter...
Are you agreeing to the callers that you're not doing enough? Yes or no, please?
I think we are doing enough, and
you're doing enough.
A lot is going to resurface.
All right, please give us your final remarks quickly within the next 15
my
seconds.
My final remarks are that, you know, the fight against corruption cannot be left to politicians, cannot be left to a political party. The fight against corruption cannot be left to the president alone. Today, there's corruption going on in churches. There's corruption going on in schools. There's corruption going on in different areas. It calls for the change of mindset.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming through, gentlemen. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
You've been watching Blunt Talk, the fearless debate. My name is Chola Chisha. Next week we're back same time.
This is Zambia, Christian nation. Yeah. Give us, give us. This is Zambia, the home of copper.